what engages me as a fan of basketball, I like to see both ends of the floor. And how these games are structured, it's structured for really good offensive performances. For example, when I was
I was built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on the gas, never stop competing. If you break my glass, then this life's
Welcome back, YouTube, to the GOATcast podcast. I'm Big Nige, and welcome back to another segment of Basketball with Big Nige. Today's video, we're going to be discussing the Unrivaled 3v3 Basketball League for the WNBA, and what does this league mean for the WNBA? What could it mean for the NBA? And my thoughts on how the league looks and where it could potentially go. To start today's video, I'm going to kind of break down the rules because I'm sure, just like myself, I wasn't aware, and I'm sure some of you guys who are watching are not aware of these rules. So I'm going to do the work for you guys, educate you guys really quick on how the rules go, and we'll go from there. But as always, before we start, like the video, comment down below your thoughts on this Unrivaled 3v3 league, and let's get into it. So, like I stated, this is a 3v3 league, which is obviously different from the WNBA and NBA's, 5v5 traditional league. This league is more like a pickup game, a glorified full court pickup game. I know a lot of today's generation, you don't see a lot of 3v3 full court pickup games, although there are some people out there who got stamina like that. I do not. You will never catch me playing a 3v3 full court game in my life. No. But it is also a condensed court. So this condensed court, so the WNBA traditional court is 94 feet long, 50 feet wide. This condensed court for the Unrivaled League is 49.2 feet by 72 feet. So this is a much smaller court compared to the traditional WNBA court. One thing I also didn't mention before I continue with these rules, this league was created by Breonna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, two of the biggest names in the WNBA currently. So I want to make sure I give them their credit for bringing this league together. Obviously, this also leads to more like sponsorships. There's other key sponsors into this league that's like funding this league and helping WNBA players, promote their league, promote themselves, X, Y, and Z. So it's really good for the WNBA, and it gives a potential for future sponsors later down the road. So I wanted to give that quick shout out there to Breonna Stewart and Nafisa Collier for their part in this as well. So they have 7-minute quarters, 3 7-minute quarters, nothing fancy there. The WNBA usually has 10-minute quarters. So again, trying to encourage that fast pace, run and gun kind of brand of basketball. Again, more of a pickup, a sense of basketball. How the winner is decided, it is a target score. So if you guys remember back in 2020, when the late great Kobe Bryant passed away, the NBA did something similar in the All-Star game where they played, kind of up and down basketball. They played defense in that 2020 All-Star game. If you don't remember that, definitely go back and check that out. But they had a target score as well. Whoever was winning by the third quarter, I believe they added 24 points to that leading score. And then that was a target score. So 24 points plus whatever the amount was that the team was leading. If, for example, if the score was like 100 to 120, the target score for both teams was 144 points, right? Because that's 24 plus the 120. It's going to be something similar for this league, except you're adding 11 to whoever's winning in the third quarter for the Unrivaled 3v3 league, and that will be the target score for both teams. So nothing complex there. It does kind of give you, again, traditional pickup aspect, but it also means like, hey, after the third quarter, we got to get it together and we got to, get to that target score. So it definitely can, you'll see different teams kind of scheme differently. You'll see, people trying to run up the scoreboard on the opposing team so that when it's time for the fourth quarter to come around for those target scores, they have a way harder time getting to that target score than the winning team, of course. They have an 18-second shot clock. Not obviously, again, A lot slow. It's a lot fast paced, so we understand that. An interesting key point is the free throws. So when you get fouled for a layup, going for a two, or you get fouled for a 3-point shot, you shoot one free throw. Now the caveat to that is if you get fouled, say on the layup, you miss the layup, go to the line, you hit your one free throw, that's 2 points for your team. If you get fouled on the 3-point line, you shoot one free throw, but if you make it, you get 3 points for your team. So there's some pros and cons to that. I'm sure you guys weigh in the comments and you let me know what you guys think of that. Personally, I think that's pretty cool. Um, could lead to some inflated numbers, but if you're good at drawing fouls, you're definitely going to be rewarded. Um, Speaking of fouls, and I'm so glad they added this foul limit, but they have it to 6 fouls. But when you look in the WNBA, it's actually 5 fouls. So I know a lot of WNBA fans out there, um, you know, 5 fouls really sometimes it really sucks, because a lot of the key players you see them get fouled out towards the end of ball games for playing aggressive or refs calling ticky tack fouls. But you really have to game plan with 5 fouls. But now in this league, since it is so fast paced, run and gun, now they get 6 fouls. Um, and that's definitely bailed out a couple teams that I'll kind of discuss a little later, um, from losing some of their key players. Another important thing to know is the $8 million salary cap. That is huge. Not going to spend too much time on that, but just understand the WNBA's current salary cap for the upcoming 2025 season is around 1.5 million, way smaller than this $8 million salary cap. And just to add a little bit of context for you guys, so the supermax for the WNBA, I mean the creme de la creme players, is 249,244, roughly that. And obviously a max in the WNBA is around $214,000. All right, big money for the WNBA. And now you come over here to the Unrivaled League with this $8 million salary cap. All players, not just the best players, all players, and this is a pool of 36 players. Now, if all 36 spots are filled, which I believe as of this recording, they are, every player on the roster is going to get $222,000. All right. That is huge. This is a 9-week season. It started early January, and I believe the season ends mid-March. I believe it's March 17th to be exact. But nonetheless, you're playing a fraction of the games, a fraction of the season, and getting basically a max contract just for playing a handful of games. That is huge for the WNBA, and that's going to be an eye-opener that the Unrivaled League was able to come up with this amount of money, but the WNBA, albeit having to pay exponentially more players, hey, now they're going to have an eye-opening moment here, because players are going to be incentivized to play in this league because you're making max money in way less games. You guys let me know down below what you think about that. But to me, that is huge, especially if I'm a WNBA player who could definitely use that cash, because that's just there. Next, we got the 1v1 tournament. Now, the 1v1 tournament is scheduled for February 10th to the 14th, and the winner gets $250,000. So imagine making max money right here for just playing the season. Then you go and win the 1v1 tournament and get another max payday. Not to mention, if you win, your team gets a bonus of $10,000. I mean, I don't know how other to put it. This is a very incentive league. Money talks, and it's no surprise for this league. And I'd be interested to see if the NBA won't take a look at this 1v1 tournament, because it's a single elimination. It's kind of got like that March Madness vibe from what I'm reading. And the NBA would be fools not to start picking up on some of these, because this is legit, man. So that's pretty much the gist of the rules for the Unrivaled League. Not going to spend too much more time on it. This is kind of the generic sense of the rules. I've caught a few of the games, and my thoughts on this league so far, and I'm gonna be honest here, there's a lot that could be improved. I'm not gonna spend too much time, but what I will say, what engages me as a fan of basketball I like to see both ends of the floor. And how these games are structured, it's structured for really good offensive performances. For example, when I was watching Sabrina Ionescu, um, she looked really good. Not in every game because I think she's only played 2 games so far. But it just showcased offensive production, not from her, not just from her, but from a lot of the players. The Brianna Stewarts, Nafisa Collier, Chelsea Grays, Enrique, obviously Sabrina, Aaliyah Boston, Brittany Griner, Caleb Bride, etc., etc. You get through a list. Also, Angel Reese is in this league too. Don't want to like poo-poo her as well because she's still dominating on the glass. But I digress. There's a lot of big names on this list, but one name that is missing, and this is another point that I wanted to get to. No Caitlin Clark. Um, and I don't want to like make this like, oh, there's no Caitlin Clark, so this league is a dud. You know, I believe the quote in the media was that she wanted to shed light on other players. She doesn't kind of want to run the narrative because we already saw in this previous season she was the headline of everybody's WNBA discussion. So it's good to kind of give the light to other people, other players, let them build themselves up, let them get this payday as well because you already know Caitlin Clark ain't pressed for money, not anytime soon. Obviously no Asia Wilson as well, which is again, this league is still new, and all these players, the players are just like Caitlin Clark as well, Asia Wilson, the door is still open for them in the future. They could come to this league and help elevate this league as well. But right now, we have the players I just mentioned. There's a handful of other ones. I'm not going to go down that list, but there's 6 teams. Um, and I believe, like I said, there's about 36 players altogether. And we have the Laces, the Lunar Owls, the Mist, the Phantom, the Rose, and the Vinyl. So 6 teams, nothing too crazy. You're not going to see a crap ton of teams right as of this recording, but a solid group of players and a solid list of teams. One of my big questions is, all right, so you're advertising this big payday right now. So when this league does grow, because the way it's trending, it's going to get bigger. How are you going to elevate the salary cap? Are you going to ensure that you got those sponsors to increase the salary cap? Because you don't want to keep adding more and more players and keep the cap at 8 million, because it's going to start dipping into everybody's pockets, where instead of that 200 plus $1,000, players might get half of that, and if you're going to advocate for all these players to play this shortened season, kind of like a bubble-esque scenario, maybe a little longer than the bubble, but this is essentially how they're going to be playing it. I'm just curious on how this is going to unfold on the next season, right? There's a lot of lessons they can learn on this season. It's still fairly early, so I'm not worried about it. It's fun basketball. It's up and down. But again, we have to be mindful of that salary. And also, like I've mentioned my first point, the defense. Like I said, not seeing too much of the defense. It's still early, so there's time for them to clean things up. But I want to see both ends of the court at a high level. And with these rules, it's going to be really hard for a defender to showcase their defensive skill set in this run and gun 3v3 setting. My opinion can change, and I'm sure all of yours out there can as well. If you love an offensive driven league, like how the NBA is kind of looking so far, this is good for you. This gives a lot of players in the WNBA time to shine, time to flesh out their games. But on the flip side, because I know I'm starting to run out of time here, injuries can happen, man. And the WNBA season starts May 16th, I believe. So you have, what you don't want to have is a bunch of your top players, like a Brianna Stewart, like a Nafisa Collier, get hurt and potentially miss the WNBA season, right? So we will see how this will look, but obviously we don't want to see injuries. They're a part of the game, but you don't want to be walking into your season without your 2 top guns. So got to monitor that situation as well, because if a lot of players are getting hurt, WNBA is probably not going to let that slide. But I digress. I think it's going to be a good. I think it's a good thing for the WNBA. I think it's an eye opener for them. It gives them some semi competition in the sense that these players are volunteering to go play for this league, and you know, WNBA, how are you going to respond? Because they're paying your players a lot more, and they get players get equity in the league. So as the league continues to grow, these WNBA players' pockets are getting fatter. So how are you going to respond, WNBA? NBA, how are you going to respond? Another league, a brand new league, is doing a 1v1 tournament, a thing that you, as the NBA, should have done years ago to save All Star weekend. So I challenge you, NBA, take a look at this. It's around All Star weekend anyway. Watch Unrivaled do what you should have been doing. And when they see it and see how profitable it could be, not only for the players, but the league itself, I guarantee that the NBA will implement something similar in the near future if they don't want to stay behind. Um, so that's pretty much all I got time for today. Wanted to give you guys my thoughts from the league, my thoughts on how a couple of the games have been going, what I've been seeing on the offensive end, lack thereof on the defensive end, and how I believe the WNBA and the NBA will respond to this league. So I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. Make sure you like the video, comment down below your thoughts from the Unrivaled 3v3 League. And until the next time, Big Nige is out.